Hello, hello, welcome, time for another video. So, again, I'm going to be taking a look at some letters for the OET. Now, as I mentioned before, I have a couple of groups on Telegram. I'm in a few groups on Facebook also, and I take a look if there's some letters that I think need a bit of assistance. I'll take them out, I'll copy them, and I'll try and explain a couple of things that might help the author and the viewers, etc. So as you see, I've got my usual disclaimer. So I'm not interested in anybody trying to accuse me of copyright issues if I may be correcting letters written due to some notes from someone else. I'm not interested. Try to sue me in Eastern Europe, see how far you get with that. Not very far, I guarantee. And besides, fair use. So, non-profit, because I don't make any fucking money out of this. Educational. So that's basically it. Okay, so what else did I want to mention? Yeah, okay. So, you can find me on the EnglishNative.com. That's my personal site. And you can find me under the English Native on Facebook, on Twitter, on Pinterest, etc. I might even start a Telegram page, perhaps. That's a point. I should have thought about that. Anyway, so there's lots of videos there, lots of other things. When I find stuff, I'll post it and etc. So you can take a look if you wish, or not, as the case may be. So, some letters. Let's have a look. So, I'm going to save the changes. Let me make sure that this is on here. Record. So, Eunice. Okay, I think I just picked up three letters for this morning. I was going to do a live session, but I don't have time for that. And the last few live sessions that I've done, virtually no one came. And those that did come didn't ask any questions. So that was kind of pointless. And this is on... I advertised this on 2 Facebook groups with 20,000 people in each, and about nearly 10,000 on Telegram, and I had about 9 people turn up. So not very encouraging. Anyway, now what do we have here? Now, I'm not going to look at the case notes, as I've said before. If you've written your letter correctly, I shouldn't have to. It should be clear from what you write. And again, for issues of copyright, so I'm not going to look at the case notes. What I probably will do is maybe next week, because I've got more time then, I'll probably take some case notes from the official OET site and I will refer to those. I think that should be okay. I don't think they'll have any complaints there. I certainly hope not. So let's have a look and see. Now, well, we've already got the age here in the reference line. So do we really need it here a second time? Mr. Jack Wojowski, sounds Polish, 43 years old. I'm writing to refer Mr. Wojowski, 43-year-old factory worker, married what? Married here is an adjective, what? So he's married man. So if you want to do that right, you would probably put it a 43-year-old married factory worker. I'm not sure what the point of telling me that is, unless this is the one where he's providing for his family and he can't work, etc. I can't remember exactly, but in any case, so I would put, if you have to include it, do it like this. So a 43-year-old married factory worker who has features suggestive of, well, it's not suggestive of, it's actual. He actually, literally, hurt his back at work. So it's not suggestive of. Now, you would usually use suggestive of when you're not sure, or when you're writing and you want the reader to provide a definitive diagnosis. So if you're not sure and you want the reader. So you're writing to a specialist and you're asking them to assess and give advice, confirm your provisional diagnosis, etc. But here it's not suggestive, it's definite. He hurt his back at work. There's no suggestiveness about it, so we don't really need that. Who had a back-related who had a work-related back injury or whatever, but we don't need suggestive because it's not. Initially, Mr. Wojowski presented to me it's complaining of, no, it's either a painful lower back spasm, it's singular, or if it's an abstract noun, painful lower back spasms in general. So make it plural. Painful lower back spasms after he lifted a heavy object. Presumably, this was at work. On examination, there was L4 and L5 tenderness in the paralumbar area. Put a comma there. As well as this, his range of movement was limited, and SLR, I would usually spell out your abbreviations, was 45 degrees. So you're supposed to write grammatically complete sentences. It's not supposed to resemble case notes, so I would maybe change that. 4 days. 4 days later. Oh yes. Another thing. You don't need a full stop or period after Mr., Mrs. or Ms. Only abbreviations like Admiral or Superintendent or Captain, so you don't need that there. Mr. Wojowski presented again with worsening and persisting. Well, I think you mean persistent. Persistent. Have I spelled that? Is it persistent? Persistent? Persistent pain, which was, don't forget your verbs, which was not relieved by analgesics and was restricting his daily routine activities, or his routine daily activities. So watch your verb forms there. Was. Don't forget be. Am, is, was, were. Don't forget to include it. Thus, now, we don't need this indefinite article here because it's not, if it was a tablet of naproxen, but it isn't. Naproxen 500 milligrams twice a day was prescribed, and fourth is an ordinal number. You want a cardinal, so 1, 2, 3, 4 is cardinal. Ordinal, first, second, third, fourth. So 4 physiotherapy sessions were ordered. Later on, when he showed an improvement, only one, or he showed some improvement, if you want to use a different quantifier, and the pain, again, watch your verbs, was relatively relieved, except, well, so it wasn't relieved then, was it? Except for the pain on forward flexion. So, okay. Later on, he showed some improvement, and the pain was relatively relieved, except for, don't need to say pain again, on forward flexion. Accordingly, he was advised to return, and we don't need to put an article in front of work. He was advised to return to work, continue with a physiotherapist. Because we've already introduced that he had some physiotherapy sessions, so his physiotherapist, and take the naproxen when needed. Now, recently, what is this time reference? So, okay, so we have a date here. Now, it's 2006. Okay, so this is a bit, I don't know if this is that long a task, if it's a recall, or whether it should have been 2016, I'm not sure. But anyway, so 4 days later, so we can count, that must be the 1st of January. Later on, when might that be? So it's always good to put in reference to time. Recently, that could be anything. Mr. Wojowski presented to me. Well, to whom else would he present? Presented with exacerbated pain after he returned to work. His examination showed reduced front flexion and extension. This was 45 degrees. Consequently, an X-ray of the lumbar spine, don't forget your articles, was ordered and liaised. Who or what liaised? We have a verb here, but we don't have a subject. Who did what? So that needs to be changed. An X-ray of the lumbar spine was ordered, and I liaised. I've got no idea what you're trying to say there. Today, his conditions were unchanged, and being unable, and he was unable to perform. Why do we have a singular article in front of a plural noun? Light duties. In view of the above, I would appreciate further assessment, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so main thing here is grammar. We've got quite a few grammatical mistakes here, as you can see. So we've got articles, now, nouns. If it's an abstract noun, it should be a plural. Verb forms, am, is, was, were, your forms of be, articles again. We've got no time. References, missing pronouns and subjects and objects, who's doing what where. We've got some verbs, but we don't know to whom or who is doing what, etc. So that needs to be worked on, because that could affect the clarity of your message, and that's something that the examiners do not like. So quite a few comments there. I'd take a look at, mainly at the grammar. Okay, let's see, what do we have now? So, Dr. Mo, let's see what we have here. I think that should be B. DOB. I'm. I am. Writing to request an urgent assessment. Well, an, you mean a singular, or do you mean a definite, the urgent assessment for this patient whose features are suggestive of subdural haematoma, or a subdural haematoma, because you can count them, can't you? In terms of Mr. Benson's medical history, he's allergic to penicillin, cancer 3 years ago, which was as a result of the injuries. Okay, that's good. When Mr. Benson first presented on the 25th of the 8th, 17, he was complaining, your preposition, complaining of headaches, as well as pins and needles. Now we know it's a sensation. You don't have to say that. You can simply say pins and needles. Most English speakers would understand what that means. You don't have to say you say the sensation of. So, but pins and needles, sensation. That's not a collocation or word order that a native would typically use. You could either say the sensation of pins and needles, or simply pins and needles, and everybody would understand. On examination, there was a slight weakness in his left hand, and we don't do that, and a lumbar lordosis in his vertebrae, but his vision was normal, and he was an overweight what? If that's being used as an adjective, an overweight what? So, and he was overweight with what? You mean with a body mass index of 32. You need to make grammatically complete sentences, and we don't need a capital there, and we don't need a capital for vision either. That's a little bit long. Okay, on examination, there was a slight weakness in his left hand and a lumbar lordosis in his vertebrae, but his vision was normal, and he was overweight with BMI of 32. Okay, him being a bit of a fatty, you know, is that strictly speaking connected to subdural haematoma? So you can mention it, but you've got to be careful there because, you know, it's not directly. I mean, I presume here so you're writing to a neurologist. So does he really need to know that he's a little bit of a fatty? You told him to lose some weight, and that's his general physical condition. But here you seem to have this, and it's not really connected. So you see, he's got headaches, pins and needles, slight weakness, vertebrae. However, vision was good, and he's a bit of a fatty. Doesn't quite fit. Anyway, therefore he was prescribed a Panadol. I think that's a brand name, isn't it? And was advised to lose weight, rest and come back for review in 2 weeks' time. Okay, now you can use passive, but you performed the action. You did this, so therefore I prescribed and advised him to blah blah blah. Now you've used active voice there, so why haven't you used active voice there? You performed the action. Anyway, on review 2 weeks later, Mr. Benson's condition had slightly improved. That's good. And he had been exercising regularly, and as a result, he lost 3 kilograms of weight, or he had lost. I advised him to go back to his work and come back if his condition worsened. Okay, that's good. His consultation, Mr. So, right, again, today's consultation, we could work out that's at dates, but still I would put the time references in. On today's consultation, Mr. Benson's condition has worsened, and he's been experiencing dizziness, nausea, and headaches for which had not responded. For which had not. Right, we don't need the preposition which had not responded to Panadol. So dizzy, nausea, and headaches. Yeah, okay, which did not respond or had not responded. Today's okay, you can leave that. And I change the capital because I think it's a brand name. On examinations, how many examinations did he have? Examinations, blood pressure 160/70, milliliter mercury, or just say 160/70, and most doctors would understand that. You don't have to spell it out. But his pulse was 98. You could put simply 98 or BPM, because again, most doctors, you don't need to spell out this. His vision was blurry, so his vision had, and well, his vision can't have anything, and he had well, it should be an because it's a vowel sound, and odometus, if I pronounce that right, optic disc. What was the matter? The rest of it. So absent. Okay. So instead of just simply saying do this to make it more polite, I would appreciate it. Could you please, etc. Instead of simply kindly. And why kindly? Can't you do it unkindly? You don't really need that adverb. Simply say, in view of the above, I would appreciate it if you could, or could you please conduct, etc. And that would work fine. Urgent admission on the possibility, and right, well, urgent admission singular, and urgent admission and admit him urgently on the possibility. Could you please conduct a thorough evaluation of Mr. Benson, Mr. Benson's condition, and urgently admit him for a CT scan? And that would work better, I think. Okay, not too bad. So let's see what we have for the final letter. I'm only doing 3 for today, so let's have a look at this. Okay. Let's have a look. Miss. Okay, well, as I said before, we don't need a period. After miss, we can get rid of this. I'm writing to refer Miss Tabaline, a chronic diabetic, non-compliant. Well, I thought we weren't supposed to use that because that's judgmental language. aren't we supposed to use non-adherent? And that's not a complete phrase. Who is non-adherent? Yeah. With insulin, or to her insulin regime, who is non-compliant with insulin or with her insulin, and has multiple DKA episodes. Expert opinion. Well, I would hope it would be expert. You don't have to say that. And suggestions on this is a little bit long. All you have to do, I'm writing to request your opinion and a diet plan for patient blah blah blah, whose features are etc etc. And I think get that a bit more compact, and that would be better. This is a little bit long-winded for an opening, and we don't really need all this, because you can expand on it later. Miss Tabaline lives alone in an apartment. Well, I'm sure that's very good information, but unless you're going to do something with it, why include it? If you wanted to say something about it, like she doesn't have family support because she lives alone, then you could use it. Do you say anything about family support in this letter? No, so I don't think we really need that. But she lives in an apartment. She's a moderate smoker and is underweight. She's non-compliant. As I said, we're not supposed to use judgmental language anymore. We're not supposed to use it. She's non-adherent to her insulin regime. You're not adherent with, you're adherent to something, because you stick to something you are adherent to, or in this case non-adherent to. Her insulin regimen of 45 units, pre-prenuptial correction, 120% baseline. This is a little... Why don't you just say she's non-compliant with her insulin regimen instead of 45 units pre-prenuptial correction, 112 units baseline? You don't really need to say all that, really. A recent episode of DKA with glucose levels found was on 25, which was admitted where? What, admitted to hospital? Presumably, because you've got discharged there. So I would start with the date first. Okay. Miss Tabaline was admitted to hospital on the 2nd of the 4th, following an episode of DKA. During hospitalization, she was treated with IV, blah, 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 and then upon reviewing her today. So, I would rewrite that, make it a bit more logical. Initially, Miss Tabaline, on the 2nd of the 4th, Miss Tabaline was admitted to hospital due to an episode of, as I said, do it like that. During hospitalization, she was treated, stabilized, and discharged, etc. So now make this a separate paragraph, because every paragraph needs to have a separate reason or main idea. Upon reviewing her today, it is noted. It is noted what? It has been noted, or noted by whom? By you? That's rather strange phrasing. No native would use that. But she is neither using insulin nor following her diet, despite the need for it. And who was explaining? Despite the need for it, and me explaining. Well, me. I don't like that, but okay. And the complications being explained to her, because I don't know if they were explained to her in hospital or if you explained it, but upon reviewing her today, it is noted. How did you note this? Did you examine her? Did she say that she doesn't use it? That doesn't explain a great deal, really. She's neither using insulin nor following her diet, despite the need for it, and having been explained of, and having the complications being explained to her. I think that might be a better sentence. In view of the above, that's what we always say, I would appreciate your expertise. Well, you don't have to say that. Obviously, then, an expert, you don't have to be an ass kisser. I would appreciate your evaluation of Miss Tabaline and explaining the need. We need a definite article in front of need for strict glycemic control and the use of an insulin pump. Kind of make sure that she returns for a follow-up a month later. So yeah, this needs a bit of reworking. It's not as clear as it should be. You need to spell things out. Time, references. Some of this information we don't really need. Some of it could simply be summarised. You don't have to put all that detail in there. Time, reference, put it at the start of a sentence. That needs reworking, and that's kind of short for a paragraph in any sense. This is pretty short for a paragraph also. Usually, if it's a visit, your paragraph has to contain 3 components. What the patient presented with, what they said, what you found, what you did. Because that's what happens, essentially, in a visit. The patient comes and says, "Oh, doctor, I've got a terrible pain. Oh, can I have a look? Take these drugs and you'll be fine." That's it. Patient comes, patient says, you examine, you find, you take some action. Okay? So that's usually what you would put in a paragraph for a visit. So, okay. So not too bad, but some of the English here, it's not grammatically complete. Missing articles, article, preposition, article, verb, article, pronouns, nouns, etc. Okay, so that needs a bit of attention. So that's 1, 2. I've already explained these, and 3. Okay. So that'll do for the time being. I'll probably take a look at some more letters next week now. I don't usually do much at weekend. Well, I try not to do much work at the weekend, so I hope that helps, and I'll see you next time. Oh yes, and if you want your letters included, if you're a member of OET Premium Facebook group, OET Study for All Facebook group, and both those 2 groups are on Telegram also, and Prepare OET on Telegram. So if you're in either of those Facebooks or the Telegram groups, you can post a letter, and if I have time, when I do a session, I'll copy them out and I'll talk about them. If you subscribe to my channel on YouTube, presumably you are watching it here now, don't forget to like and subscribe. What else? Oh yeah, as I said, you can find me on Facebook, on Telegram, or on Twitter, and my website, TheEnglishNative.com. Okay, that'll do for today. I'll catch you next time.